23 minutes before 9 o'clock. Beautiful Wednesday morning. I hope you're doing well. Some cool temperatures moving in our way. Nothing really drastic to be worried about, but just letting you know. And right now we've got News Bites. This is the segment of the morning show that we call News Bites because we take the news and we make it bite-sized by shortening it, giving you an opportunity to hear a bunch of stories in this little segment that's about 23 minutes long. Usually, Robin and I get between 20 and 25 stories squeezed in here, and we also give you the information so that you can look up the story. A lot of folks have been writing and telling us that they appreciate the show, and I would like to invite you, if you're a business, to also be part of the show. We can squeeze in the story about your business into one of these stories. In other words, put an advertisement in here. And the way you get any advertisement on WOCA, whether it's this segment or any segment, is simply by visiting one of our sales executives, and they'll show you how it's done and what we can do for you so that the team between you and us, helps bring business to your business. That's the whole point. Give us a call at 732-8000 or visit us at the Paddock Mall right outside of the food court to find out more information. This first story comes from ABC News. A New Mexico middle school teacher has been credited with saving many lives when he persuaded a 12-year-old boy into dropping his shotgun after he had wounded two students, according to officials. New Mexico Governor Susana Martinez said more students could have been injured if not for the heroics of teacher John Masterson, who confronted the alleged shooter yesterday morning inside the gymnasium at Berendo Middle School in Roswell, New Mexico. He starts to turn and see that the young man shoots, and then pointing the firearm at Mr. Masterson, Martinez said at a Tuesday night news conference. Mr. Masterson then begins to talk to him to put it down. The young man put the gun down and raised his hands. A girl identified as Kendall Sanders, who is 13 years old, underwent surgery last night, and her condition has been upgraded to stable. According to Martinez, she suffered injuries to her right shoulder. An 11-year-old boy is in critical condition after suffering more serious injuries to his face and neck. The young victim underwent a second surgery during the day. According to Martinez, the family of the boy wished to not disclose his name. The suspected shooter, a seventh grader, whom police have not named, was transferred to an Albuquerque psychiatric hospital after a hearing yesterday, according to the Associated Press, citing attorney Robert Gorentz, who is representing his family. So thank God for the actions of that teacher, and say some prayers for the child that is in critical condition.
President Obama vowed yesterday that he will not be waiting on Congress and that he will take more executive action when he deems it necessary to get his agenda enacted and bypass a reluctant Congress. This is a quote from Obama. "I've got a pen and I've got a phone," Mr. Obama said at his first cabinet meeting of the year at the White House. His quote continues, "And I can use that pen to sign executive orders and take executive actions and administrative actions that move the ball forward to help middle-class families. We are not just going to be waiting for legislation in order to make sure that we're providing Americans the kind of help that they need." GOP House Speaker John A. Boehner told reporters yesterday that it is Congress that is waiting for the president to cooperate on several bills that would create more jobs after a dismal report on last month's weak job growth nationally. Boehner said Mr. Obama should use his phone to call Congress, reported by the Washington Times.
And this story from the Associated Press: 86 current and former members of a Yale University fraternity are being sued over a deadly tailgating crash at the 2011 Yale-Harvard football game. A rental truck carrying beer kegs heading to the Sigma Phi Epsilon tailgating area outside the Yale Bowl fatally struck 30-year-old Nancy Barry of Salem, Massachusetts, and injured two other women. The Yale student who was driving entered a probation program that erased the criminal charges against him. Lawyers for Barry's family and one of the injured women sued the fraternity members late last month. They say insurance for the National Sigma Phi Epsilon organization does not cover the local chapter, so they have to sue the local fraternity fraternity and its members. Fraternity members declined to comment. Yale tightened tailgating rules in the wake of the crash.
This is a story being reported by the Florida News Network. A retired Tampa police captain was denied bond during his first court appearance yesterday on second-degree murder charges. Curtis Reeves stands accused of gunning down a man who was texting in a movie theater in Wesley Chapel. Law enforcement officials say Reeves, age 71, had words with Chad Olson, age 43, who was texting his 3-year-old daughter. Some popcorn flew, and then witnesses say Reeves pulled out a gun and shot Dolson in the chest. Olson's wife, Nicole, was wounded in the hand. The Olsons were taken to a Tampa area hospital where Chad Olson died. Reeves was detained by an off-duty Sumter County Sheriff's deputy until police arrived. About 25 people were in the theater to watch the new war movie Lone Survivor. Cobb Theaters released a statement saying it was deeply saddened by the shooting and that it was an isolated altercation between two guests that escalated unexpectedly.
This story from the Associated Press. Police are hunting for burglars who tried to steal the ashes of psychoanalyst Sigmund Freud from a London crematorium. The Metropolitan Police Force says a 2,300-year-old Greek urn containing the remains of Freud and his wife Martha was severely damaged in a break-in at Golders Green Crematorium on December 31st or January 1st. Detective Constable Daniel Candler said this morning that the attempted theft was a despicable act. The father of psychoanalyst moved to Britain from Nazi-controlled Austria in 1938. He died in London in September of 1939. Golders Green Crematorium has seen the funerals of many British celebrities, including Dracula novelist Bram Stoker, comedian Peter Sellers, and singer Amy Winehouse. The crematorium said the urn had been moved to a secure location and security was being reviewed.
Minutes after the American consulate in Benghazi came under assault on September 11th, 2012, the nation's top civilian and uniformed defense officials headed for a previously scheduled Oval Office session with President Obama were informed that the event was a terrorist attack. This is according to declassified documents. The new evidence raises the question of why the top military men, one of whom was a member of the president's cabinet, allowed him and other senior Obama administration officials to press a false narrative of the Benghazi attacks for 2 weeks afterward. General Carter Ham, who at the time was head of AFRICOM, the Defense Department Combatant Command with jurisdiction over Libya, told the House in classified testimony last year that it was him who broke the news about the unfolding situation in Benghazi to then Defense Secretary Leon Panetta and General Martin Dempsey, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, reported by Fox News.
And this story is from the Reuters news agency. The U.S. Federal Communications Commission may appeal the ruling by a U.S. appeals court yesterday that struck down the agency's so-called net neutrality rules, according to FCC Chairman Tom Wheeler. Here's a quote: "I am committed to maintaining our networks as engines for economic growth, test beds for innovative services and products, and channels for all forms of speech protected by the First Amendment," unquote. That was a quote from Tom Wheeler, the FCC chairman. "We will consider," he continues, "all available options, including those for appeal, to ensure that these networks on which the internet depends continue to provide a free and open platform for innovation and expression and operate in the interest of all Americans," unquote. The FCC's 2011 Open Internet rules require internet providers to treat all web traffic equally and give consumers equal access to all lawful content, but were challenged by Verizon Communications Incorporated as excessive.
The Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission and several partners returned approximately 50 sea turtles to the wild this week in the Gulf of Mexico. The release took place off Cape San Blas in the Panhandle after the animals were rescued from last week's cold water temperatures. The sea turtles were rescued when water temperatures had dipped below 50 degrees, causing cold stunning. Cold-stunned turtles may float listlessly in the water or wash ashore, largely unable to move. In Florida, they are susceptible to further effects from the weather and to attacks by gulls that often involve eye injuries. Many of these turtles would die without human intervention. Most of the turtles were found in St. Joseph Bay, while others were rescued near Crooked Island and in Big Lagoon in Escambia County. The affected sea turtles were mainly green turtles, but a few were Kemp's Ridleys. Both species are endangered. The rescued turtles were all taken to Gulf World Marine Park in Panama City to allow them to recover from exposure to the unusually low water temperatures. A water temperature monitoring buoy in St. Joseph Bay allows biologists to predict when sea turtle cold stunning may occur. The turtles were tagged before their release to allow researchers to individually identify them if any are encountered again in the future. Biologists chose to release the turtles into the Gulf at Cape Palms Park on Cape San Blas because the water is warmer and turtles return to St. Joseph Bay to feed. This is reported by Florida News Network. Wow, what a story.
Yeah, that's a cool one. Out of CNN, a Democratic proposal to raise the federal minimum wage to $10.10 an hour got the backing yesterday of 75 leading economists. The group includes 7 Nobel laureates, among them Joseph Stiglitz and Peter Diamond, and several former Obama and Clinton administration economists. They lent their support to legislation known as the Fair Minimum Wage Act, introduced in the House by Representative George Miller and in the Senate by Senator Tom Harkin. The vast majority of employees who would benefit are adults in working families, disproportionately women who work at least 20 hours a week and depend on these earnings to make ends meet, was a quote in the letter that was written by the group and sent to congressional leaders and to President Obama, who backs the Miller-Harkin proposal. Again, that was from CNN.
A first day of voting has been taking place in Egypt on a new constitution that could pave the way for fresh elections, but clashes involving supporters of ousted Islamist President Mohamed Morsi led to several deaths. The new charter is to replace the constitution passed under Mr. Morsi before he was forced out by the army. The military wants a strong yes vote in the 2-day referendum to endorse his removal. Mr. Morsi's Muslim Brotherhood, now designated a terrorist group, is boycotting the vote. Reported by the BBC.
And from the Associated Press, Michelle Obama, who turns 50 years old later this week, is not ruling out using plastic surgery or Botox in the future. There is a quote here from Mrs. Obama saying, "Women should have the freedom to do whatever they need to do to feel good about themselves." That was a quote from the First Lady in an interview in People magazine that is hitting the newsstands this Friday. Her birthday is Friday. Right now, she says, "I don't imagine that I would go that route, but I've also learned to never say never." Her message to women is to be healthy. Mrs. Obama says that she has never missed a health checkup, including mammograms and pap smears. She has also had a colonoscopy.
The dangers of sexting and cyberbullying should be taught to children in school sex education lessons, David Cameron has said. The Prime Minister also signaled that current sex education guidance, which is 14 years old and predates the internet as we know it, should be updated to reflect the digital era. Speaking at a select committee on violence against women yesterday evening, Mr. Cameron said, "I think we can do better in terms of sex and relationship education. We must focus on healthy relationships, and I think we can add on to the guidance that's produced. Better guidance on, for instance, problems of cyberbullying, sexting. We need to deal with that," reported by The Telegraph.
And this from Fox News. Many schools employ drug testing to deter students from using illegal substances, but new research has revealed that these checkups actually fail to dissuade teens from trying drugs. According to Counsel and Heal, approximately 20% of high schools in the United States utilize drug testing, usually to screen students participating in sports or after-school clubs. In a new study published in Journal of Studies on Alcohol and Drugs, researchers interviewed 361 students, a third of whom reported having a drug policy at school. Through these reports, the scientists say they did not find any evidence that drug testing successfully prevented students from trying drugs. They noted that students from schools with drug testing were just as likely to try illegal substances as students from schools without drug testing.
Now that marijuana sales are legal in Colorado but still illegal under federal law, entrepreneurs are rushing to figure out how to develop a business model for the pot industry. It's a real test of Yankee ingenuity. Entrepreneurs are jumping into a Wild West-like landscape of marijuana market opportunities. This new gold rush sometimes is referred to as a green rush, led by ganjapreneurs. Working within state guidelines, they are moving forward with ambitious cannabis business strategies. They see potential for big sales and profits, especially if more mid-sized businesses can transition to large national brands. Wealthy individual investors already are tapping private equity firms for a bite of the potentially lucrative marijuana business, reported by MSNBC.
From the Associated Press, a litter of kittens has found a cozy home in the least cozy of places, a maximum security prison in upstate New York. The Post-Star newspaper of Glens Falls reports that 4 kittens found their way into the basement of the Great Meadow Correctional Facility in Fort Anne a few months ago. That's near the Vermont border, 55 miles northeast of Albany. The family of feral felines has been cared for by inmates and prison staff, including head electrician Bruce Porter. He arrives at work early so he can tend to the cats, which live in a large cage built by an inmate. Another inmate takes care of the cats on weekends when many prison employees are off. Prison officials say they're hoping to find the kittens homes among the staff. I can see a movie in the works, Robin, the Catman of Alcatraz.
A man is facing attempted murder charges for allegedly throwing his 2-year-old son from the second floor of a motel in Kissimmee, Florida. Investigators say the incident took place early yesterday morning, adding that the man jumped from the balcony himself after allegedly throwing the toddler. Investigators identified the father as Juan Pablo Maradiaga and said he was smelling of alcohol when they arrived on the scene. Police said they discovered the boy unconscious and covered with blood with bumps to his face and forehead. They said the boy's right arm was fractured as well. The boy was airlifted to Arnold Palmer Hospital. Investigators said Maradiaga, age 41, was lying nearby, also unconscious. His left leg was broken. According to law enforcement accounts, most motel surveillance videos showed Maradiaga tossing his son from the second floor.
Right.
I know, this is horrible. Maradiaga reportedly told a detective he had become frustrated with his son, reported by the Florida News Network. He needs to go away forever.
The next story from the Jerusalem Post: half of the Palestinians favor negotiations with Israel, while 3/4 reject the permanent settlement if it includes a 10-year transitional phase during which the IDF remains deployed in the Jordan Valley. A public opinion poll published yesterday revealed. Another public opinion poll published last November by the Jerusalem Media and Communications Center showed that half of the Palestinians believe the Palestinian Authority made a mistake when it resumed peace negotiations with Israel. The new poll, which was conducted by the Palestinian Center for Policy and Survey Research, covered some 1,270 Palestinians and has a margin of error of 3%.
Green tea can weaken the effects of a commonly prescribed blood pressure pill, experts warn. Japanese researchers found the herbal drink blocks special cell transporters that normally help the body absorb the beta blocker medicine. In tests, people who drank green tea alongside taking their tablets ended up with lower circulating blood levels of the drug nadolol. Experts say consumers need to be aware of this interaction. Like other drugs, the patient leaflet accompanying nadolol tablets warns that certain medicines, including herbal remedies, can interact with their action, but it does not include green tea in this list, reported by the BBC.
From CNN, a few weeks before texting dispute turned deadly inside a theater in Wesley Chapel, Florida, suspect Curtis Reeves had another run-in with a moviegoer, according to a new story released by CNN. During Reeves' first court appearance yesterday morning, prosecutors said they had heard from another theater patron who said the 71-year-old former Tampa police officer saw her texting and glared at her the entire time throughout the movie during a screening about 3 weeks ago. When the woman got up to use the restroom, Reeves followed her and made her very uncomfortable, according to the report. CNN affiliate WTSP out of Tampa later identified the woman as Jamira Dixon of Wesley Chapel, the Tampa suburb where Monday's shooting took place. He became upset about the whole situation and kept staring and kept giving us dirty looks, the woman told the TV station. Dixon said she first heard about Monday's shooting on the radio while she was driving, and she had a feeling it was the same man who had made her feel uncomfortable. Wow.
Oh my God.
The guy had big issues, and they as your story said, they didn't give him bond, so that's good.
Yeah. Christians are facing a new age of martyrdom across much of the world, the Archbishop of Canterbury has said. Speaking in Istanbul, Turkey, the Most Reverend Justin Welby singled out the persecution of believers across the Middle East and said Christians are still called to suffer and even die for the faith in 21st century. But he insisted that religion is often just a pretext for violence and not the real cause. He made his remarks at the end of a 2-day visit with the ecumenical patriarch of Constantinople, Bartholomew I, the most senior cleric in the Eastern Orthodox Church, reported by The Telegraph.
From the Associated Press, the movie Grown Ups 2 is making the most noise at this year's Golden Raspberry Awards. The silly comedy sequel about 4 childhood friends starring Adam Sandler, Kevin James, Chris Rock, and David Spade led the Razzie lineup yesterday with 8 nominations, including Worst Picture, Sequel, Ensemble, Screenplay, Lead Actor for Sandler, Supporting Actor for Taylor Lautner, Supporting Actress for Salma Hayek, and Director Dennis Dugan. Sandler is not a stranger to the Razzies, which was launched in 1980 as a spoof of Hollywood's awards season. He won the Worst Actor trophy last year for the man-child comedy That's My Boy, and his 2011 cross-dressing comedy Jack and Jill made Razzie history the year before with a record 10 awards, with Sandler winning both the Worst Actor and Actress prizes.
Co-founder of political campaign group Go Proud, or Go Proud, says he's fed up with the tolerance of bigotry in the Republican Party. The co-founder of a U.S. political campaign group that represents gay conservatives announced yesterday that he is leaving the Republican Party. The co-founder and former executive director of Go Proud, Jimmy LaSalvia, said in a blog post that he changed his voter registration to No Party because the Republican Party had lost its way. LaSalvia said that he is now an independent conservative, which he said sounds much better than gay Republican, reported by The Guardian.
All right, that's all the time we have for News Bites. We do this each weekday morning. It's your opportunity to hear as many stories as we can squeeze into the segment and catch up on the news as best as possible. Remember, we also give you the information so you can look it up by telling you which news agency we got the story from in the first place. Call us if you need that repeated, by the way. And remember, if you're a business person and you'd like to advertise on this segment, Robin and I will read your ad during the course of these news stories. In other words, slip it in as one of the stories. It's not a bad way to advertise. You also might want to go the traditional route, having a pre-recorded ad, and you can, of course, advertise anywhere on WOCA's day. We are on the air 24 hours a day, and we do this not only to entertain and inform, but also to help you get business through your doors. So call us and find out how we can do that for you. The number here is 732-8000. Speak to a sales executive, not to Robin and me, not about sales anyway.
Nope.
Because we won't know what the answers are. But you can also come into the studio here at the Paddock Mall right outside the food court and speak to a sales executive. They'll tell you how easy it is to advertise on WOCA and team up with us so that we can help you with your business. How many stories did we get today?
23.
23, not bad.
Yep.
All right, we'll take a little break and we will be right back.
Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA.
Ocala.